He's also, you know, played on the Pro Tour, won a bunch of money playing Versus System, a game you helped design. So, you know, if you are familiar with card games at all, you are probably familiar with this name and face, and he is having a good weekend here as well, as both these players either have, I know at least Gerry had 3 losses, I believe both have 3 losses, so they are both in top 8 contention, and they are in a mirror that I know that Gerry built his deck to prepare for, and Vidi, looking at his deck list, is not as prepared as Gerry is.
Yeah, Gerry's deck is super streamlined. Main deck Hymns very good here. Main deck Ancestral Visions, 3 Jaces, 3 Thoughtseizes. He's very well set up for this matchup.
And this matchup is the definition of the grind. It is an attrition matchup. Things are going to be moving back and forth. Cards moving out of different zones from players' hands, graveyards. Tons of things are going to be happening here. And as we saw in an attrition-based matchup like this, Planeswalkers are key, but also just being able to see more cards and be able to generate card density is key. And that's exactly why Gerry's deck, we feel, is more favored in this particular matchup because of a card like Ancestral Visions.
And he's also has the ability to get ahead on mana as well.
Yes.
Which is another big part of this. So we're looking at a hand here of Life from Loam, which Deathrite Shaman can do some work alleviating, Tarmogoyf, and Jace the Mind Sculptor. And 4 lands. So not a particularly good hand. Almost certainly taking Jace out of this hand as it's one of the key cards in this matchup. And there goes Jace.
Bye-bye.
He just threw a Thoughtseize of his own. Loam for Wasteland is another angle that these control decks have, but it's very hard to get that going in the face of a Deathrite Shaman, as Gerry can sort of pick apart Vidi's lands in his graveyard. You're looking at a hand of him, Abrupt Decay, and 2 lands for Gerry.
So this is the attrition battle that we do talk about here. There's a lot of discard to start in the early parts of the game between Thoughtseize, Inquisition of Kozilek, and of course Hymn to Torret that Gerry has and Vidi does not. You know, this is the kind of thing that does happen in this matchup, just things going back and forth, moving to the graveyard very, very quickly. You know, there are some Snapcaster Mages involved at some point here, but the hands do get torn apart very fast, as we see another Abrupt Decay drawn here for Gerry.
Gerry just passing the turn back, wants to leave his Deathrite Shaman up to prevent Loam from really doing anything. Vidi also just saying go. Gerry's gonna go ahead and shoot Vidi for 2 with the Deathrite Shaman. Vidi's gonna deploy his Abrupt Decay to take the Shaman out. Here comes Charlotte's Agent.
One-time dealer?
Sure.
Not a bad reveal. I probably wanted the vision there, but again, when don't you want the Ancestral Vision there, right?
Yeah, and he's looking at Loam, Goyf, and the 2 lands. Gonna take the Goyf.
See a second Wasteland here from Gerry, and just passing back. Life total's changing a little bit here because of fetch land damage and Thoughtseizes.
So now Vidi has a window to sort of get his Loam engine online now. Deathrite Shaman's no longer a factor. I assume that's the path we are going to take here. Vidi under very little pressure, obviously, just the Charlotte's Agent, so he's got a lot of time to get this going. Very slow attrition-y matchup, and a main deck Loam does a lot. Gives you a big angle at a pretty low opportunity cost.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting. You know, you do see some lists that do have Life from the Loam. You see some that do not. I'm fairly sure that Gerry's does not have Life from the Loam, where we've seen players like Brian Braun-Duan, and we see Vidianto obviously has a Life from the Loam in his deck list. It seems like, I don't want to say it's a free roll, of course, because it is a slot in your deck, but it seems like you almost want to be playing 1 if you're expecting the Bug Mirror. And we are going to see a Wasteland here, just to be able to have access to be able to just randomly win a game off of like Wasteland locking someone, or when things do get grindy like this, you know, being able to search for some basics and not have this be an issue. As you see, Vidianto can do that, and Gerry cannot.
Yeah, especially if people are going to be constructing the deck list in the way that Gerry has. He has actually no basics in his deck, so Loam is a big deal.
Now you see Vidianto just going to work with Life and Loam here, getting back a bunch of lands. You know, he's getting back these non-basics now too. Not only because, you know, he needs to hit his land drops, but it's kind of the situation where Gerry, I mean, you can wasteland my land if you want to. That's just one last land that you're going to have in play, one last land that you definitely can't get back.
So Gerry's sitting on his one Misty Rainforest here. He gets to basically crack it for blue mana once, and he's just drawn, because it's just going to get wasteland away.
Yeah.
He's just drawn Ancestral Vision, so now it's a test of whether or not Gerry wants to basically use this as his one spell.
And do you want to cash this in right now for the only use you're going to get out of Misty Rainforest for something that's going to come 4 turns down the road, or do you just want to hold off and maybe you draw something else, as we see Wasteland being taken care of by Vidi, and he draws a Tropical Island here, getting in with a Charlotte's Agent. As interesting as this is, Patrick, you know, with the mana now that's happening, Charlotte's Agent is kind of giving the beatdowns.
Yeah, no, and this is actually, if right now with the way the game's playing out, if Vidi wants to Wasteland him, get back Loam and cast it and Wasteland him, that's Vidi's whole turn, and in the meantime he's taking his shots. He still needs to find something to actually, as silly as it sounds, kill the Charlotte's Agent.
And we do see Life and Loam here from Vidi. And getting back a handful of lands, one of which, of course, is Wasteland to take care of that Tropical Island. So Vidi has done a fantastic job, of course, of mana denial, but as you said, Charlotte's Agent, yeah, it's a gray ogre.
Still trucking along.
But it still does do 2 damage every turn. Gerry draws another fetch land. Big draw there for Gerry.
Yeah, awesome.
Big draw.
It gets him to 2 mana, and it's not, you know, if Vidi wants to Wasteland and then Wasteland again, that's obviously very inefficient. So
yeah, and Vidi needs an Abrupt Decay very, very badly right now, because as we know, Gerry does have Abrupt Decay in 3 of them now.
Yep.
So Tarmogoyf is not going to do it, which is something that you brought up at the top.
And Vidi's just floating out. I think his hand is just all lands and that Loam. I guess the Loam's in the graveyard, but point remains.
Gerry coming across, putting Vidi down to 3. You do see that Vidi does have a Misty Rainforest in play, so that represents Vidi being down to 2 if he does choose to use it, as Vidi draws another land. And the investment of Ancestral Visions, where I wasn't even sure if we were going to get to this point, is resolving as Vidi is looking at a Spell Pierce, which doesn't do anything.
Dude, Charlotte's Agent's totally busted.
Yep. Absolutely.
So many lumps.
Ever seen Grey Ogre go this deep?
I mean, this has been some pathetic beatdowns, but it looks like it's going to be enough.
I mean, this is no Garrick Relentless beatdowns, but again, what is?
Yeah, Garrick Relentless from Vidi would have locked this thing up ages ago.
As we see a Thoughtseize here from Gerry. Gerry going to scope things out. Vidi's going to Spell Pierce here. And Gerry goes, okay.
Yep. I think he has to correctly suspect that Vidi's hand just has nothing in it.
A real stinker.
Yeah.
He's just saying draw, go every turn, not doing anything of consequence.
Is Gerry out of green mana to fetch for? Okay.
He might be. Be interesting to see if he realized that before he made this decision.
There's a hesitation there. I don't know if he's trying to cast a green spell or what.
Yeah. I mean, it's risky, right? Because like if that bio gets blown up now, then he can't cast these Abrupt Decays. We're going to see a Ponder here from Gerry. So if he is out of green mana, yeah, I'm not, I don't know exactly what Vidi can do here, but if he is able to cut him off of that last green source, then those Abrupt Decays are turned off and Vidi's Tarmogoyfs are turned back on.
So Gerry does not want to keep that Ancestral. Seems unlikely that the game would go on for 4 more turns and then Ancestral would make a difference. If Vidi stabilizes, it's likely that he's going to completely lock Gerry out.
Yes.
So sitting on that Visions doesn't make a lot of sense.
So we see Gerry's going to draw a card. He draws a Tarmogoyf. Misty Rainforest, yes, he's out of... That is a definite tell to me that he's out of green sources, and Vidi needs to draw something that does anything.
We just found Liliana the Veil.
Is that his draw for the turn?
Yes.
Oh boy. If he has a Wasteland, which he does not, you do see Liliana coming into play here. And Vidi goes, is that good? And it is. And it's going to take care of Charlotte's Agent. Charlotte's Agent only got to deal 14 that game.
Yeah. Force of
Force
Will.
of timely.
I don't even know if we have another blue card. Oh, we have the Charlotte's Agent. Okay.
We have Tarmogoyf right now, too. So now Vidi is going to have to redraw something very good, and he draws a... It's a secret.
It's another land.
A fetch land. Yeah, VD cracks and fetch land, shows his hand of 5 lands, and says, you win.
Well, that was a weird game.
That was a weird game. It seems like all of our Bugmears are weird games like this. They're just grind fests.
Yeah.
They're very, very strange. Taking a look here at Vidianto's sideboard as he is down a game, we'll be playing first this one. I see a Spell Pierce, which I wasn't really in love with that game. He was holding on to that for a long time.
Yeah, these games go on a little too long for that. It's very good against Jace, obviously, but the rest of the deck, not particularly good against.
2 copies of Duress, which I think I'm probably a fan of. 2 copies of Nile Spellbound, which seem like they're reasonable, especially assuming there's Snapcaster Mage lurking somewhere within these decks. Also, slowing down Tarmogoyf a little bit. There's Dark Blast here, which does take care of some things. Golgari Charm, which is a little bit interesting. I'm not really sure how functional that is.
That's Dark Blast.
Yeah.
I was looking at the deck list and I couldn't quite read his handwriting. I'm like, what's a Pork Black? That's Dark Blast.
Pork Black.
That's what
that's
what it looks like.
That's what you thought that said?
Well, I knew it was. I know that's not a card, so I knew.
Oh, do you?
I know that wasn't that.
Well, thank God for that. 2 copies of Surgical Extraction to go along with 4 copies of Force of Will, a Maelstrom Pulse, and 2 Pernicious Deeds, and looking again, 0 copies of Pork Black.
Just a double check.
Yeah,
that's a quick verification.
I do want to double check, make sure there aren't any in there. I mean, a lot of these cards overlap quite a bit. You don't really see anything that's really, nothing that stands out that says this is definitely here for the Bugmear, like a card like Gerry Relentless does. As odd enough as that is to say. So, I mean, I expect some of these cards to come in. You know, maybe you see the other Spell Pierce. Maybe you see one or 2 copies of the Duress. Maybe you see a copy of Pernicious Deed or 2 join us. But there's nothing here that's overwhelmingly good.
Yeah, and I think, Charlotte's Agent is an indicator that the deck probably doesn't have Snapcaster Mage. I mean, we know here in the booth that it doesn't have Snapcaster Mage.
Yes.
But Charlotte's Agent into Snapcaster Mage is clearly quite bad. And so you would have to assume that the deck playing Charlotte's Agent would almost certainly have cut its Snapcaster Mages. So you don't want to be bringing in a bunch of graveyard hate, but certainly Surgical Extraction can be halfway decent against just control decks in general. So BD may want to bring that in, but Nile Spellbound really doesn't do very much against Gerry's deck at all.
Yeah, it doesn't really do too much.
But Gerry's graveyard hate is quite good here for no other reason than Loam, and BD also has Snapcaster Mages, so Surgicals and Nile Spellbombs out of Gerry's sideboard will be very good here against VD. The opposite is not true. So, yeah, I mean, we've seen a million different bug decks on camera so far this weekend. Different stripes, different permutations. Is there a particular build or style that you like the most so far, or?
Yeah, any of them that don't have Engineered Plague in their sideboard. Those are my favorites thus far.
Engineered Plague hasn't been good?
Yeah, those are my favorites thus far. And the problem is that all of them contain like minimum 3 copies of it. So I don't like any of these decks. They're stupid. I don't like them.
Oh, this is a Goblins thing now?
Yeah, it's personal. Oh, it's personal. I mean, I think the list that I kind of like, honestly, if you're building a bug deck, it seems like you're trying to beat the mirror, it seems like, and if that's what you're trying to do, I like the version that Gerry is playing here just because of Ancestral Vision, personally. Mm-hmm. One of the other versions that I've liked as well this weekend is Brian Baranduan's. He had no Force of Wills in his main deck, and it seemed like he was also geared towards the mirror match, where some people are not. I really what I want to do is kind of look over, a lot of these deck lists, these bug lists, and kind of just make like the ultimate one, which it seems like Gerry's deck is like in a very good position, but it does seem like he could use a Life in the Loam in his deck somewhere.
Yeah, it would just be another angle he has.
Yeah,
he has access to. Although a lot of this deck structure appears to be just make sure that your Charlotte's Agent is kind of non-conditional.
Yeah.
And Charlotte's Agent into Loam isn't necessarily good in every spot. But, yeah, 1 Loam seems, maybe even just in the sideboard, but it does seem like pretty close to a freebie.
It seems like there should be 1 throughout the 75 for sure. It just seems like it does too much. I mean, we saw that game where Vidianto was crushing Gerry with Loam. He got a little bit unfortunate because when he started to draw cards and not dredge, he just started missing and didn't draw anything of relevance. But you can't really expect that to happen every single time.
Yeah. Both players keeping. There's Ancestral. That card puts so much pressure on VD to be proactive in the matchup, because Gerry's late game is going to be just clearly so much better.
As you'd see a waistline there from Vidi taking care of Gerry's first land. Ancestral, of course, still there, still going to be taking down, you know, forcing Vidi's hand a couple turns down the road as we see a creeping tar pit here from Gerry.
One creeping tar pit often appear in these style of decks, almost certainly as just a concession to Jace, as the land's very good there in control mirrors. Gerry casts a Thoughtseize. Sees a hand of 2 Abrupt Decays, Brainstorm, Liliana the Veil, and a land.
Not bad.
Yeah, not shabby. I mean, we're almost certainly not taking an Abrupt Decay, so now it's just Brainstorm versus Liliana.
And in this situation, Patrick, you would take...
With it, what I can gather out of Gerry's hand, I would probably take Brainstorm and Wasteland. Yeah, I like this. Because the Liliana is hard to cast. Being used a 2nd black mana. You really don't want to put a Planeswalker in the graveyard because of the Tarmogoyf. And Vidi is just unlikely to be able to cast that Liliana quickly.
We're going to see Tarmogoyf get in here for 3 points of damage. It is a 3/4. Tarmogoyf die a little bit off the screen. We'll be able to bring it forward to you guys just so that you can see it a little bit better. But he is currently sitting as a 3/4.
And by cutting Vidi off of green mana, now we can stick our Tarmogoyf and not have to worry about Abrupt Decay.
And all the while cutting him off of that mana, that green mana that you speak of, you know, you just have to remember that Ancestral Visions is looming as we see a Liliana come through here. Moves it up to a 4/5 because there's a creature in the graveyard now. And now Visions is going to be resolving. And this is exactly what Gerry's deck is meant to do.
Yep.
Get ahead on those cards and now take full advantage of it.
And again, he's cut Vidi off of green mana, so Gerry's aware that Vidi's hand is just the 2 Abrupt Decays. Doesn't really have to worry about that right now. He just has to find an Abrupt Decay, maybe his own Tarmogoyf, something to answer the Goyf, and then all the cards he's up should.
As we see a Brainstorm here from Gerry. He's got a whole full mid of cards there, excuse me, and it's just up to Gerry now. And we've seen this situation quite a few times this weekend, excuse me, of just now you got to get the cards out.
Yep. Fortunately for Gerry, he only has the only card he has to answer is that Tarmogoyf. He has no other pressure, and not even really the threat of pressure, as he lacks green mana. His hand's just reactive cards anyway, and so it's actually rough for Vidi to try to plus his Planeswalker because Gerry's outcarding him by so much.
And we do see a Bayou here from Gerry, and now we're going to see 2 copies of Deathrite Shaman. He does pass back. Leads me to believe that maybe his Ancestral Vision wasn't as good as he was hoping for. So we do see a Tropical Island here from Vidi. So green is back on. Abrupt Decays are back on.
But how does Vidi handle this? Maybe plus, if he doesn't plus his Planeswalker, then 1 Deathrite Shaman attack takes it out.
Yep.
If he does plus it, well, Vidi's definitely behind on cards, so trading 1 for 1 that way is not. It's pretty rough. I guess he can discard that Spell Pierce at this point.
It doesn't really. I mean, it's kind of an interesting situation. Spell Pierce doesn't really seem to be doing much, but at the same time, I was going to bring up that he could Spell Pierce a Jace, but Deathrite Shaman's the mana ability from Deathrite Shaman's going to kind of nix that idea anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does seem like Spell Pierce is just off now. As we are going to see an Abrupt Decay. Take one of these. So I mean, I guess now being able to Spell Pierce a Jace is an option. Because with a 4th land from Gerry, it will only be 5 mana, so Jace can be Spell Pierce. We see in Gerry's hand there is no Jace looming in there.
And now what Vidi's contemplating, I believe, is whether or not he's willing to plus his Liliana.
And you can see Gerry very, very ready to discard, if that's the case.
And yeah, he can't do it. Which means that Deathrite Shaman gets to just take out Liliana if Gerry so chooses. Gerry also just found Charlotte's Agent, which is quite good here, as he just needs time and chump blockers to get his hand online.
How do you feel about the no activation on Liliana here? Because as you said, it's kind of a freebie for Deathrite Shaman just to take care of it. It does make Tarmogoyf bigger, of course, but again, it is just a freebie.
Yeah, I guess for me, if he's willing to attack with his Deathrite Shaman instead of using either a life gain power or something, I'm probably pretty happy with that. I think I would have plus the Liliana.
We see Charlotte's agent, Gerry points to Jason and say, can I put this in? And Vidi said, I don't think so.
So now, is Vidi willing to... he's willing to Spell Pierce. This is a pretty good target for Spell Pierce, but Vidi might be happy just to let Gerry take the 2 damage.
Yeah, with him being at 6.
Lose the Abrupt Decay.
Yeah, with him being at 6 and going down to 4. Jerry's already played his land this turn as well. It'll be interesting to see exactly what the effect of Nile Spellbomb will have on the game, because it only removes one player's graveyard. So, you know, don't really know how big Tarmogoyf is going to be.
Now there's a big question for Gerry if he's going to leave his Deathrite Shaman back or if he wants to take out the Liliana.
Well, with Gerry knowing that Vidi, we're fairly sure that Gerry knows that Vidi's last card is the second copy of Abrupt Decay.
Yes.
So I think that's something that he has to consider. And we are going to see Thoughtseize take care of that Abrupt Decay, so that's a little bit risky.
Yeah, I mean, now we're dead to a kill spell, but we have some time and some cards in hand if Vidi doesn't just kill us here to then find, again, he needs to find an answer.
Now,
he has a draw step plus Nile Spellbomb to cycle.
Now, one thing that Nile Spellbomb is actually going to protect Gerry from is Snapcaster Mage. So Snapcaster Mage on Abrupt Decay is not an out because of the Spellbomb.
I believe Vidi just picked up a Wasteland. Yep.
And that's going to take out the Creeping Tar Pit. He can plus Liliana now, which is what he's going to do. And we'll see if he wants to attack with Tarmogoyf or not. I'd be a little surprised if it didn't come on in here because it is lethal attack.
Well, he may want to protect his Liliana to have Edict available.
Yeah.
But I think you're still... The Tarmogoyf attack is basically an Edict.
Yes.
So...
Plays the exact same role. See Vidi counting a little bit here, wondering how big Tarmogoyf is. What's going to happen if Gerry removes Vidi's graveyard with Nile Spellbomb? What's going to happen if Gerry removes his own graveyard with Nile Spellbomb? What's going to happen to the size of that Tarmogoyf? But everything looks to be as though the coast is clear, and he does send in with what currently is a lethal Tarmogoyf attack.
So yeah, Gerry has the option of nuking a graveyard or chump blocking and trying to preserve his cantrip. I mean, if he doesn't have an out here, I almost feel like you need to give yourself another redraw. Yeah, Gerry agrees.
If Vidi just passes back.
Gerry just drew a Tarmogoyf. Not a shabby draw.
We're going to see Deathrite Shaman get in here. Tarmogoyf come there. Land. Let's see what Vidi's able to draw here.
Is it a miracle? Gerry playing his last land because Vidi still has access to Liliana +1.
Yep. Doesn't look like it was a great one. Interesting here that, you know, as far as we've come along this game, you have to remember that Gerry did resolve an Ancestral Visions this game. And, you know, it feels to me like he's barely hanging on.
Yep. I mean, he still has a number of huge draws. I mean, Jace or Abrupt Decay just pretty much buries Vidi, I think. So both players kind of hanging on by a thread here. It doesn't take much for Vidi to just kill Gerry, and it doesn't take much for Gerry to just make Vidi's House of Cards collapse here.
Nope. We see Tarmogoyf up to a 5/6 now. Tarmogoyf going to come in to the Liliana. Little surprised that Vidi did not activate Liliana. Again, we don't know what the card is in Vidi's hand, but there had to be a reason for not doing that. As we see, Gerry is going to trade Tarmogoyfs there in a creative way, which basically, Patrick, was, you know, they ran into each other, and then Gerry removed the artifact from the graveyard to shrink them.
Yep.
Moving them down to a 4/5.
Gerry rips another Goyf.
Really makes you wonder what that card is in Vidi's hand, because he did have the opportunity to plus Liliana and chose not to.
Maybe Force of Will?
It's possible, yeah.
I can't think of a lot of wouldn't cast it, but wouldn't be willing to plus Liliana.
Yeah.
I'm willing to bet it's just some counter spell.
The question is let's say that it is forcible, for example. Was that even, like, how relevant was that versus having Liliana on 2 counters and the threat of the Edict effect?
No, I agree. I think pretty much anything just should have been either cast or discarded.
Discarded, sure.
Really not really sure what he's looking for.
We're going to see a basic forest here. Be a little bit wasteland proof.
And
Thrun.
Oh, he couldn't cast it last. Oh, okay.
That one's good.
Yeah.
And having to draw the land was good too.
All right. The mystery has been revealed.
So that turns things a little bit here.
Thrun is lethal. I mean, Gerry has Deathrite Shaman. He has a cushion here.
Yeah.
And the Goyf is bigger.
Now, Thrun is interesting because the Goyf is bigger, but Thrun can also, block the Goyf for a very long time, once he has Regeneration Mana open. As we see, Gerry has a Dismember in his hand, which is not so much.
Not getting it done against Thrun.
And Gerry just passes the turn back. Holds the Lana, discard to Liliana, still has the Dismember. As we're going to see, it looks as though Vidi has drawn another spell. Rearranging his lands, we see 3 mana. We see.
Ooh, and this is just
right.
This is just lethal. I mean, Gerry gets to gain 2.
Right back in Big Ern's face. A top deck Maelstrom Pulse as you see the spotter pull away the Tarmogoyf die. Gerry discards Misty Rainforest. Vidi coming on in. And Gerry does gain some life.
Yep.
This is going to knock him down to 2, as Liliana is up to 3. Gerry draws another useless land to go along with that Dismember, and back-to-back. That was back-to-back-to-back insane draws for Vidi.
Yep.
It started with a Thrun that he couldn't cast, then he was able to draw the fetch land to be able to cast the Thrun, and then a timely Maelstrom Pulse, a singleton in his sideboard, turning the game around.
All right, so Vidi gonna Edict Gerry here, and Thrun is in.
And a Deathrite Shaman for good measure. Gerry's going to go down to 1. He's going to fetch, thin his deck out a card. Not sure exactly what he's looking for, but just want to he wants to up his percentages just a little bit as he is facing a lethal attack. And see what he can peel off. Can he match the peels?
I mean, I don't think he has a way to get out of this. He doesn't even have. His deck is without edicts, so.
We see a Dismember there take care of that Deathrite Shaman on the end step.
I mean, he can find a defensive Tarmogoyf, but again, Vidi, even if he finds a defensive Tarmogoyf, Vidi can just go, all right, plus Liliana, Edict you next turn.
Yeah.
Very hard to get out of.
And we see Vidianto Wijaya win game 2 as Gerry's last draw step there was an Ancestral Vision. Not good enough to get it done. So we are going to be playing a 3rd game here, Patrick.
Yeah, Thrun, a card we haven't really seen too much of so far in these bug control decks, but it was awesome that game. I mean, Gerry took his lumps early on, and then Thrun just closed the deal. And Gerry's, like we said, really not very well suited to handle that card. He has some Thought Ceases, but that is pretty much it. He can make a 4/5 Goyf, but that's a dubious proposition against the Abrupt Decay, Jace the Mind Sculptor, other removal spell mirror match. But yeah, he's pretty soft to that card.
Yeah, I mean, and this is just one of the things that when you do get inbred in the mirror match, as we've spoken about many times over the course of this weekend, with cards like Garrick Relentless and Thrun the Last Troll, and who knows where we're going to go after this.
Yeah.
But these are the kind of cards that do trump the mirror match, and if you expect a lot of bug mirrors, and you can kind of go deep like this with cards like Thrun, with cards like Garrick Relentless, and Charlotte's Agent and Ancestral Visions. But again, when you're including cards like those in your deck throughout your 75, you do become a little bit more susceptible to cards like Flame Rift and other burn spells and different archetypes.
Can we get some River Boas up in here? It's like, can't block it, can't Abrupt Decay it. Good luck.
River Boa?
Yeah, we'll get. Get that guy just
River Boa and Meyer Boa.
Sure.
Swamp Walk and Island Walk.
They're both good.
Can't stop, won't stop.
Yeah.
Both do regenerate.
Yeah, they would high-five each other if they had hands. Just swimming through the muck and the mire.
No need for a flavor judge here, which is lucky.
Can't abrupt decay that one.
No.
No.
Abrupt decay proof, blocking Tarmogoyf all day.
Yeah. You got a Thrun. That's fine. Block that thing too.
Block, don't mind.
Yeah. Do this all day. Charlotte's Agent into River Boa. It's pretty awesome.
Good luck. Make up that card by blocking and regenerating.
Yeah.
There it is.
There it is.
Hardly seems fair. No muss, no fuss.
Yeah.
Get your River Boas today.
It's basically unbeatable as far as I can tell.
Say it. It's unbeatable. It's unbeatable. Say it.
You got Gerry, Relentless. That's fine. Regenerate that action. Yeah, no, I mean, no question that these decks definitely show a lot of anticipation of the mirror match in various forms.
You can definitely tell. You can definitely tell. You can see Gerry. I can understand a little bit of frustration after how that game ended up. You know, resolving. You know, it's kind of funny, right? Like game one, where we walk into the situation after like turn 5 or turn 6, you got VD loaming and blowing up all of Gerry's lands, and has actually run him out of green mana. And Gerry's somehow able to deal 14 points of damage to Charlotte's Agent and then finish it off. And then game 2, Gerry's able to resolve Ancestral Vision, suspend it on turn 1, kind of do his thing, resolve a Charlotte's Agent or 2, and then just loses to just 3 perfect draws by Vidianto.
I sort of feel like when a lot of the game is about wastelanding the other guy a bunch of times to keep him off with mana and colors, you can't be too bad about. You can never be mad about how the games play out.
Sure.
It's just whatever happens, you know.
Yeah, I mean that's legitimate.
Someone's got to be land screwed and or color screwed.
No. As we do see Gerry lead off again with an Ancestral Vision. So we're gonna see if Vidianto's gonna be able to win the fight against this card again. He was able to do it game number 2, as we see Deathrite Shaman here off of Polluted Delta.
Yeah, and you know, Vidi put Gerry under a lot of pressure with those Tarmogoyfs, and that's very important when Gerry has Ancestral in his deck.
For sure, for sure.
Winning going late is very challenging. So I think Gerry has an Abrupt Decay, and he's just contemplating whether or not he's willing to use it here on the shot, and he is, yeah.
Enough of that.
Gerry's hand is it appears fairly soft to Jace, and so it's just very dangerous, allowing Vidi to have a ramping effect.
Any extra mana's got to go away.
Yep.
And Gerry's going to do what you typically see when Ancestral Visions is being suspended on turn 1, maybe a little bit of, you know, trade, and then recoup my cards.
Yes.
As Visions does move down to 2 after Vidianto wastelands Gerry. But Gerry looking to be doing just fine. You see Nile Spellbomb here. You see a Verdant Catacombs there. We know he has a Brainstorm in his hand along with another land, so Wasteland not really doing a ton. You see in Vidianto's hand, he has a Brainstorm as well. He also has that game-winning Maelstrom Pulse in his hand.
Yeah, and Gerry very happy to play a slower game. There's a Creeping Tar Pit. Again, if Vidi's not doing anything, Gerry's totally happy playing that game.
And you see Life in the Loam from Vidianto as his draw step. But the Nile Spellbomb looking to break that up a little bit. Vidianto can get a little creative with Nile Spellbomb on the stack and maybe drawing a card with Brainstorm to kind of dodge this effect. But is it time to go loaming is the question.
It's a very slow grind. And if Vidi's going to lose his Wasteland to the Nile Spellbomb regardless, even if he can keep the loam going, it's not nearly the same card when it's not looping Wasteland.
Yeah.
If he's using it to just get back fetch lands, that doesn't really matter all that much.
Yep. Vidianto search here for an Underground Sea, a beautiful black border one. I'm sure that you do approve.
Yeah, I mean, Vidi's got foil Deltas, foil Japanese, Deathrite Shaman. I mean, all of his legacy decks look something like this.
And we're going to see a Liliana of the Veil here from Vidianto. And we're going to start the discard game.
I think Gerry's contemplating a Brainstorm in response.
Interesting here, Vidi was very quick. He moved that Life in the Loam forward right away as something to discard in the face of an Nile Spellbomb. I'm not sure if that's what he's going to discard or not, but he certainly moved it forward very quickly, happy to discard it. Easy card to discard, but is he willing to just let that go?
Yeah, it feels a little early to give up on that, because Gerry might just have to fire off that Nile Spellbomb a cantrip at some point.
Yeah.
And it's not like the rest of the cards in VD's hands are terribly proactive or something he has to get online he can afford. He's just going to get rid of the loam. Yeah, I am surprised VD gave up on loaming so soon. I assume we're going to see Gerry nuke VD's graveyard at the end of the turn here. And that's exactly what we see. So Gerry's going to get to draw off the spell bomb. Ancestral for DI, as the kids like to say. Draw for his turn. Draws a bunch of hymns. And yeah, this is the problem for the matchup playing from VD's perspective. Even with Liliana online, he can't outcard Gerry. So the more time that he gives Gerry to just deploy his hand, even if VD keeps Liliana online, it just doesn't matter all that much.
Yeah. You see a Jason there, you see an Ancestral Vision, you see a Hymn to Torak. Gerry really starting to set things up again. We saw this last game as well. I mean, he's drawn better off of an Ancestral Vision. You know, for lack of a better term, it's just like he bricked the last time, as we are going to see a Hymn to Torak here.
Yeah.
Roll away.
Gets a to be revealed Brainstorm Maelstrom Pulse. Very good when Jerry's trying to set up Jace here as well.
Yeah. Very, very good.
And I believe we're just going to, suspend Ancestral.
So while Liliana is a bit of an annoyance being out on the battlefield there, again, it's not too huge of a problem, I don't think, for Gerry.
Yeah, Gerry doesn't even need to play to the board right now, because he can play the game in such a way to just outcard VD.
Yep.
And so he doesn't even have to walk into these edicts. And VD using the plus power on Liliana is also, again, a dubious proposition with Gerry so far ahead in terms of raw cards. The one thing that Gerry does have to do is make sure that Liliana can't go ultimate. But between his Creeping Tar Pit in play, possibly Abrupt Decay, some answer like that, he has ways to access that, but that's the one thing he just has to make an effort to, is avoid that outcome.
Yeah. So now we'll see exactly what VD's going to go with here as he does search out his fourth land. Didn't have a good look at his hand. Don't know if he has a Jace.
Yeah, he's going to be able to stick Jace here, assuming Gerry doesn't have a force. He doesn't have his own Jace, and VD's basically compelled to Fate Seal here because the Creeping Tar Pit means
sure
it just dies otherwise.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what it does. He Fate Seals himself, which I like. I like Fate Sealing himself, getting a little information about what he's got. We're going to see Liliana go up. Gerry discards a Hymn to Torak, moves the Ancestral Vision counter down, untaps very quickly, draws a Dismember. We see a Jace and a Brainstorm, along with a Polluted Delta and that Dismember, adding 3 cards to it, another Creeping Tar Pit, a Shardless Agent, and a Mystery card. But he can do a little bit of setting up with Shardless Agent here to ensure that he hits something.
So, I feel like Gerry probably just wants to Legend Rule. It's pretty risky business. I don't know, I feel like he wants to Legend Rule the Jace here, because he's it's not a great exchange, but he's ahead enough on cards that he can have that happen.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really want... it's very easy to say you don't want that thing to just be sitting around, and, you know, maybe he could take it down over the course of 2 turns with Creeping Tar Pit, but I think, you know, because he is so outcarded, because there's a Visions coming, you know, down the road, and we do see this Brainstorm resolving, I think it's time to just, you know, trade 1 for 1 with Jace the Mind Sculptor. We know that VD is cardless right now. He discarded his last card in Inquisition of Kozilek, and just move on.
Yeah, what happens next turn, most likely, is VD plays whatever he can, what he draws if he can, takes the Liliana up to 6, then you can knock it down to 3 with a Creeping Tar Pit. VD won't have a hand, so the coast is clear. If VD sits on a card, then you can just also sit yourself. You don't have to walk your Creeping Tar Pit into a potential removal spell.
And we see Gerry kind of going through things here with Brainstorm. Obviously, this is one of the more crucial points in this game. Getting Brainstorm right is a huge deal, not just in this game, but of course in Legacy, as we're going to see Polluted Delta shuffle these cards away. Yeah,
and Gerry really doesn't have... part of the reason that turn was so complicated was his only untapped land was a fetch. So whatever he brainstorms away is just gone. He has no way to protect one card he may want to keep of his hand.
Yep. Now, Patrick, looking forward to Vidianto's turn. One thing that Vidianto can draw that he actually cannot cast, again, is Throne the Last Troll.
Yeah. He's gone and tried to get basic lands as much as possible to protect himself against Gerry's Wastelands, but now...
And okay.
Sure.
Okay.
It's not bad.
Whoo, boy.
It's not bad.
Vidianto with a heck of a draw step here in Jace the Mind Sculptor. Gerry just took all of this time to sculpt out a beautiful game, and Vidianto just draws the perfect card. Visions ticks down to 2. Gerry draws a Wasteland.
Yeah, now he kind of just needs to send his Creeping Tar Pit at Liliana to prevent it from going. But then if he does that, he like can't play out his Charlotte's Agent and Wasteland. Yeah, he's now squeezed. That was about the worst thing that could happen, really.
And the thing is, he's squeezed in some interesting ways as we see Charlotte's Agent here reveal Nile's Spellbomb. He's squeezed in an interesting way because also there's this Liliana that is threatening ultimate. Now, it may not be the greatest ultimate right now, but it is still just the threat of it there. You know, it's something that Gerry has to consider in his mind of, okay, like if he ultimates this, you know, what's going to happen to my board position? As we see Vidianto draw his card, get Wastelanded. I'm not sure what that draw was.
I believe it was Abrupt Decay.
Okay.
Yeah, that Jace was huge. I mean, Gerry had most of Vidi's draws pretty well covered there.
Yeah.
But that Jace just blew up all of Gerry's plans. Instead of being able to play a slow game and let the Ancestral carry him to victory, now he's got to figure out some way to play to the board to be able to attack those Planeswalkers.
And now you see a top deck Abrupt Decay there from Vidi taking out the Shardless Agent. Now Vidi considering a few things. You know, do I want to go Fate Sealing with Jace, which it looks like he's going to brainstorm. You know, do I want to activate Liliana, you know, discard? Do I want to go Ultimate? As we're going to see a Ponder here from Vidianto. Patrick, as he is resolving this and shuffling away, would you have Brainstorm first before casting that Abrupt Decay? Okay.
Gerry has no cards in hand. There's no new information for you to work with.
Sure.
And now you're in a spot where you can't +1 the Liliana unless you're willing to throw away whatever the card is.
We see a Ponder here from Vidianto. Vidi happy to discard the card. Ponder moves over to the graveyard, passing back to Gerry. Gerry is going to break that Nile Spellbound. It looks like Gerry is just drawing a Jace. No, it's a Tarmogoyf to go along with a Deathrite Shaman. So now we see creeping Tar Pit here get into Liliana so he can fade the ultimate. And Gerry just chooses just to play a Deathrite Shaman and has the threat of Ancestral Vision coming next turn.
You see an Edict here, and Vidi just drew Wasteland, which is also insane here. As
take care of the creeping Tar Pit.
Yeah. And now the Planeswalker can start to really carry Vidi home.
And this is go ahead.
He has another Edict up still in case Gerry draws a creature.
Now this is interesting, Patrick, because as much as we have watched and we see Gerry make sure that he doesn't play a second land for the turn, purely on accident there by Vidi. But one of the things that we realize here, Patrick, is this is kind of the first time this week, at least for me, that I've seen Jace dominate a game state like this.
Yeah, it sort of reminds me. Well, you see Gerry deploy a very nice board here. He actually can get some attacking, and it sort of reminds me of Jit in Champions Block Constructed, where the card is so distortingly good in the matchup. The decks are so warped to prevent the other guy from ever hitting with a Jit. The Jit actually rarely ever occurs because both decks are so dedicated to prevent that from even happening. Yeah. Jace very similar here. You had to play so many cards to prevent it from happening. It's actually usually pretty effective. You can keep it off the table. Yeah. But if it ever lands and stays in play, I mean, Gerry has resolved how many Ancestrals and how many Charlotte's Agents this game?
Yeah, and still just fighting. Yeah. Because Jace the Mind Sculptor is that good of a card. So we see Vidianto sack that Verdant Catacombs that was left over in his hand from his last turn. Going to clear away the top cards of his library. That he knew that one of those three cards, he knew the very top one because of Jace the Mind Sculptor putting cards back. Vidianto will shuffle and present to Gerry. Gerry will take a quick chop shuffle, and we're going to probably see a Brainstorm here, Patrick. We see Vidianto's draw step was an Abrupt Decay as well.
Yeah. Is he willing to lose the Liliana here? Because then if he just edicts and loses the Liliana, then he's just all in on this Jace. That's
Yes.
the only.
Not only all in on it, but really no good way to defend it either.
Yeah. He's going to brainstorm.
And I like this. I think he does want to get his information first, as he's going to see a Snapcaster Mage to go along with another Abrupt Decay, a Polluted Delta, and an Abrupt Decay that he's putting on top of his deck here.
Yep. I mean, Gerry's done a very good job of nuking VD's graveyard, and so that Snapcaster, I think it's pretty target light right now.
Vidianto, happy and content to pass back, does not activate Liliana at all. As we see,
Well, I'm sure we're going to lead off this turn with a Thoughtseize.
I think that's the best bet here. Yeah.
That was a suspicious turn.
Yeah. Not only do we see 2 Thoughtseizes in Gerry's hand, but we also see a Wasteland being able to cut off that Tropical Island, and that's important.
Yeah, Thrun. Another Jace if Gerry's able to get the Jace off the table.
That is important, as we see Abrupt Decay take care of that Tarmogoyf, and we see Snapcaster Mage. So Gerry is going to miss with a Thoughtseize and deal himself 2 damage, but it's not really missing because now the coast is clear.
Yeah, well, clear-ish. I bet Gerry was hoping that he'd be able to take down Liliana this turn. Instead, he can knock it down to 1 counter, but trading with that Snapcaster Mage here is pretty sad too.
And you do see Gerry is going to Wasteland the Tropical Island. And does he want to trade Charlotte's Agent with Snapcaster Mage or anything of that nature? And
Nope.
He does not. Still, Gerry trying to make the uphill climb as he Abrupt Decays the Deathrite Shaman, forcing the activation right now. He is trying to make this uphill climb against Jace. And Gerry's got to remove that Abrupt Decay.
And there's the Brainstorm.
I think VD has done a really nice job of managing his Planeswalkers this game.
Yep.
As we do see Polluted Delta come into play here, so he will be able to shuffle away those cards on top from the Jace Brainstorm. Gerry desperately needing to draw Jace the Mind Sculptor right now. He's got a small window to be able to draw one, but he missed this turn and just has to draw and say go.
I think VD actually has one of his own floating in the top 3, but we're going to get rid of it.
And VD is going to almost search out a blue-black one, but he does need another green source of mana for that game-winning Thrun the Last Troll. So in case he does draw one for his turn or brainstorm into one, he can cast it.
Yeah, VD very firmly in the driver's seat here. And some big draws left. And the Edict, Brainstorm with Jace, Snapcaster Mage, Vendilion Click, another Liliana, a Wasteland.
Yeah, you know, it felt like that some of his previous brainstorms were a little bit weak, and being able to trying to balance that with Liliana was making things a little bit difficult, as we're going to see Vidianto in Gerry's draw step Vendilion click him, and Gerry's going to brainstorm in response, find a Tarmogoyf, a land, and an Isle Spellbomb. But that brainstorm, Patrick, was a very strong one for Vidianto.
He is. Yeah, even if they were mediocre at this point, he's so far ahead in resources in a bunch of different places, but he might be able to cement it here.
And it's kind of funny, we've been kind of laughing about it all day, and I know yesterday you were, you know, bringing up the fact that people were playing Garruk Relentless, but you can imagine how good Garruk Relentless would be in this game.
Oh yeah, it would have been another just powerful in the same way, right? It would have just been another durable, controlling threat, would be able to handle a lot of smaller cards on its own, control Deathrite Shaman, a bunch of draws, give you a clock, good at fighting other Planeswalkers because you can make a sea of 2/2s to be attacking with.
And we're going to see Vidianto here. He's going to bounce the Tarmogoyf that Gerry had via Jace, cast a Snapcaster Mage. Not quite sure what he's targeting, but it's not going to matter because he has just been done in by one of the best Magic cards of all time in Jace the Mind Sculptor.
Yeah. Claims another victim.
Yeah.
Another notch in the belt for Jace.
Not the first one.
Won't be the last.
Certainly will not be the last. Vidianto Wijaya wins 2-1 over Gerry Thompson to move on to what looks to be 11-3 in this tournament. And